I'm standing here right in front of our new Tesla store here in Clermont, Florida. This place just opened a few days ago, and we are very fortunate, very lucky enough to have a Cybertruck on display. Now, for those of you who are not aware, check with your local service center because these things are popping up everywhere. Whether you have a gallery or a delivery center, what have you, check with your local club, check with your local delivery center and see if they have a Cybertruck in their area, because one of the genius things that Tesla decided to do with the launch of the Cybertruck is to put these things on display. So if you have a store in a mall or whatever, check it out. You might be able to get really close, really personal with the Cybertruck and see it face to face for yourself. So with that said, let's head inside because I want to show you the vehicle we have in here. And now, although this one is not a production vehicle, this appears to be a late pre-production vehicle. And I'll show you why I say that, kind of point out some of the nuances, but for all intents and purposes, this vehicle has all of the equipment that you would expect on the final production vehicle. So let's head inside and take a closer look. All right, so now the Cybertruck is going to come in 3 different configurations, and we now have price and we know range on these trucks. It's going to come in a single motor, which will be rear-wheel drive, a dual motor, and what's being called the Cyber Beast, or what we previously heard as the tri-motor. Now the single motor is going to come in at $60,990, but it is going to come with the announcement promised range of 250 miles. Now stepping up to the dual motor will bring you in just under the tax credit limit at $79,990. Will get you a 340 miles of range, so a little bit better than what was originally promised. But again, at that new price point, it is 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds and is going to come with quite a bit of awesome equipment. And then finally, we have the Cyber Beast, or what we previously heard as the tri-motor Cybertruck. It is going to come in at $99,990, so a pretty steep price. You will not be qualifying for the tax credit, of course, and that comes in just shy of the dual motor at 320 miles of range. Now, it does give you a bit more performance than previously promised at 2.6 0 to 60, which is almost unbelievable given how heavy this vehicle is. And when you take all of that into account, it makes for a pretty awesome display thanks to Tesla and their creative team on the drag strip. Now, we just had the release event in Austin, Texas, and during that event, select customers were able to take delivery right then and there, which is pretty cool. And the vehicles that we saw on hand actually were a Founders Series. It is laser etched with foundation on the front of the vehicle, designating it a Founders Series, and on the rear of the vehicle for the Cyber Beast actually comes with a 3-headed beast, which is pretty clever given the tri-motor setup of that vehicle. Now, we are just learning this week what that pricing is going to look like. We're also under the impression that we're talking about 1,000 vehicles that are going to be in this Founders Series, and they start at about $120,000. So for select people that Tesla will decide for themselves who those customers will be, you may be lucky and get yourself a Founders Series if you can afford it. A lot of people are wondering, stainless steel and scratches. I have a stainless steel sink in my kitchen. Is it going to scratch up like that? And the reality is, no, it's not, but it is going to possibly get some scratches over its life, which we can see here on this particular version as well. Now, you can correct this, and it's kind of a polishing method, a buffing method to get this out. You're basically regraining the stainless steel to get rid of that. I recommend looking into some of the wrapping options for the truck to avoid this in the first place, because that's not going to be fun to get rid of. But don't fool yourself. This thing is not like your sink. It is not going to scratch up like your sink. This is pretty indestructible for an exterior. And compare that to a painted surface. This thing is way more scratch resistant than any other of the cars on the road. Now, for the vehicle that we're looking at right here, this is pretty much what you're going to be looking at aside from the Founders Series. The Founders Series is just going to give you a few of the options included. It's going to have some laser etching on it, but the outside appearance otherwise is going to look exactly like what you're looking at right here. Of course, we can see here on the front, the front-facing camera, which we are being told, and it is clearly understood, that this will be for off-road use. It's not necessarily explained to be for full self-driving. However, given the Highland Model 3 also features this new front camera, it's probably a good bet that that is going to help enhance full self-driving with the new hardware package on new Teslas. And this vehicle right here, although we cannot tell if it is a tri-motor or a Cyber Beast or a dual motor, it will look just like this for the initial runs of this vehicle. And that's not such a bad thing, because as we come over to the side, when we look at these wheels, these things are not just massive, they look incredible. So these wheels are actually a pretty good bit of engineering genius. It's actually a two-piece design. And how this works is underneath there's basically a set where the outside cover will go into place, allowing you to get this thing oriented just right. And Tesla also did some other genius things here to help with the longevity of this, including a rubber exterior on this thing. So the entire perimeter of this wheel is actually a rubber, allowing it to be a little bit more flexible. So if you want to drop the air out of the vehicle while you're doing some off-roading, you can do that without worrying about your wheel covers. And then next we look over here at our rear view mirrors, and these are folded up. And although we haven't seen this really in person, these do remove. And that was something that Elon Musk always promised. Of course, that will be for off-road use only, quote unquote. But the nice thing is, when they are removed, Tesla did include blind spot monitors on both sides of the vehicle. So there's a very small LED indicator up on the A-pillar on the inside to let you know if somebody's in your blind spot, whether it's the driver's side or the passenger side. And of course, as we're looking at this side of the vehicle, you can see how the vehicle opens itself. If you look right here where I'm pointing, these rectangles with a little bit of a light there, that is how you open the vehicle. You simply push this in and the door pops open. The same is going to be the case for the rear. Now, the only issue you're probably going to have is if you have small children, is them being able to reach that. So you'll probably need to give them an assist if you are loading them in the back of the vehicle. The one thing that is nice about that, though, from everybody I've talked to who has not seen or heard anything about the Cybertruck, it seems intuitive, a little bit more intuitive than the Model 3 doors that changed everything for entering and exiting a vehicle. Now on the inside, we do have the same exit for this vehicle as we have in the Model X and the Model S. It is a haptic button. It doesn't really push, and that is featured on all four corners. But the cool thing about it is Tesla's attention to detail in this truck, shaped like a Cybertruck, and it looks pretty cool. Speaking of which, you won't really find a Tesla badging anywhere on this vehicle. Everything is badged Cybertruck, much like the Ram brand has really pushed itself away from the Dodge designation. This vehicle is a Cybertruck, and it is only listed as a Cybertruck. So this vehicle is really going all out on rebranding itself as something completely different. And it doesn't take much time to look at this vehicle and understand it truly is very different. Now, as we come over to the back corner, there's a few things I want to point out to you. Number one is our charge port door here. Now, this door, as it opens, actually features the image of a Cybertruck in LED, and it will tell you based on the color what it's doing, much like you're used to in Teslas today. But its location is slightly further forward compared to the rear of the vehicle than what we're used to in all other Teslas today. And because of that, we're starting to see a lot of changes happening at superchargers across the country. Now, we have seen these things parked in existing superchargers with no issue plugging in, but they are starting to work on a longer cable that comes with the V-Forge superchargers that are starting to roll out across North America. And back here on this rear corner, we can also see how you're going to open and close the vault. Now, this vault is rated for a ton of weight. You can stand, we've watched people literally jump on this cover. And unlike other competitors' tonneau covers like this retractable cover seems to be extremely smooth in operation. And that does help point to this is probably going to be quite reliable compared to what we've seen in the past from other vehicles. But it's very easy to operate, and the visuals here on the back, they get pretty easy as well. You have an up, you have a down, and you have a release for the tailgate. And just above that, you'll see these little notches, and there's 4 of them here over the back, and there's 4 additional ones over the glass. These are for the roof rack. So the roof rack can actually be mounted on the rear, it can be mounted on the front. We actually saw a cyber tent mounted on one in Texas, which was pretty cool. And that is all complemented by this pretty awesome LED light that goes all the way across, which matches that LED in the front of the vehicle. Nice little touch there. We also have our rear view camera, which is a very important piece because when this Cybervault is locked, you're not going to be able to use the mirror in the vehicle. So what Tesla has done is they have installed this camera right here, this wide angle camera, to actually put the rear view mirror on the screen of the vehicle. So when the vault is closed, you still have access to see everything going on behind you. Now there's a few interesting things going on underneath the vehicle. Of course, this forward box here that we're looking at does house the trailer hitch, and it does include a 4-pin and a 7-pin, unlike some other vehicles that Tesla makes. So that'll be nice, and you have quick and easy access, but you also have this box around it. And when you look at the manufacturing plant, you can see what's underneath there, and it's really just hardware. It's not housing a whole bunch. Now, underneath the bed, there is a sub-trunk, so to speak, but it only comes down to about where the trailer hitch is, so that is not what that is for. It's actually to house and protect some of the components on the rear of the vehicle. So unfortunately, that does cut into your departure angle on this vehicle. So more to come on that in the future, I would assume, as Tesla looks to tighten things like that up. In addition, we can see our additional marker lights here on the bottom underneath the tailgate for added visibility. And then finally, I want to talk about what makes this vehicle different than what you're going to take delivery of someday in the future. Well, like I said, this is a late pre-production vehicle, and what that means is this is what they intend to build and sell to customers there at the end as they continue to make changes. But this is not one that has gone through the current production line as it sits today. So some of the things that you'll notice, first and foremost, the tailgate on the back of this isn't perfectly lined up. Now, when you look at the vehicles in Texas that are coming up the line, that is a lot straighter than it is here. And the biggest thing you'll notice on this vehicle versus what they're making today, on all 4 corners, we can see where the panels come much farther than where the vehicle is. So in the tailgate is flush, we can see the body actually extends past the corner of this vehicle, and that is on all 4 corners. That is nothing to be concerned about. Again, this is a late pre-production vehicle, so that is something that we're going to see quite a bit of that here. In addition, we can see some waving here across the top on both sides of the vault where the plastic kind of does its thing, but I have not seen that in person on a production version of this car. So time will tell if this is a wear thing or if Tesla has indeed changed the mold for these covers around the vault. In addition, something that Tesla lovers love to complain about is the panel gap. So on this back door, it doesn't look too bad, but as we work our way to the front, we can start to see some of those inconsistencies, especially with this front driver's door. So we have a pretty tight gap here at the bottom, and as we work our way up, it gets a lot wider. Do not concern yourself with that. That is not going to be an issue with this truck. The ones that I saw in person, again, very good quality. Finally, something I'm most excited about is this incredible 4-foot windshield wiper, which can be used as a weapon for personal protection in case of an emergency. But actually, this thing can be removed, and it's really not that big of a deal. It really blends in a lot more than you think. All the pictures you've seen are really zoomed in on that, and you don't really notice it unless you're looking for it. But it is the largest windshield wiper in the world, at least as far as I understand. So other than that, this is the Cybertruck that you're looking at. There are some things that have changed as far as quality goes on the Cybertruck, but otherwise, this is what you're looking at, and this thing is pretty indestructible. A lot of people, myself included, were somewhat shocked when pricing came out, and that was a major concern. When the Cybertruck was announced, after all, it was touted to be an affordable option. The Cybertruck came with a lot of what is actually being released, and it was at a much better price. So what changed? Well, the thing is, it's not that the Cybertruck isn't worth this extra money, because when you look at what's available in this price range, or when you look at what's available in EV trucks, this has a ton to offer, and it also has the flexibility of giving you more capability, including the range extender. So from a value perspective, it actually packs quite a punch. It is super fast. It can haul a ton of weight, and it also has the capacity to haul all of your stuff in the tailgate as well. So there's a lot that this truck offers, and it is worth the price. We just thought we were getting a better deal previously when we were getting more truck than what we were paying for. Unfortunately, over the last 4 years, that has since changed, but I am super excited to get this truck myself, and I plan on getting the dual motor myself because I want to get as much range as I possibly can, and the 0 to 60 in 4 to 4.5 seconds sounds pretty dang good to me. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to get inside of the Cybertruck today, but I have been inside of it, and this truck offers something that most trucks don't quite hit all the marks on, and it is absolute comfort. This thing is extremely comfortable on the inside, and it doesn't feel as tight as you might think. Actually, this truck is pretty large, easily accommodate 3 adults, although probably not great for a 1,000-mile road trip back there, but the seats themselves are very comfortable and plush, and they're not just heated, of course they're cooled, and it's not just the driver and passenger that are comfortable, it's your passengers in the second row who are also sitting on cooled seats. So we also see that screen featured in the Model S and X and the Model 3 Highland featured in the back of this truck, and they've actually gotten pretty creative on how they're including some air vents for that second row. It's a new design and it looks pretty sleek, in line with what the Cybertruck is. In addition, you will find ample space for storage inside and outside of the truck, and that all lends for quite the utility vehicle. And with all of that, what you're really looking at here is quite possibly the most capable, definitely the toughest truck on the market today. And that is going to come at a pretty strong price tag, but as long as you're not looking at the Cyber Beast, that tax credit can definitely help you bring the price down at $7,500. And with that, what we're looking at here isn't necessarily that it's the Cybertruck, it's what the Cybertruck represents. This truck is so important to the future of EVs and trucks. This truck is pushing the industry to get creative, pushing the industry to be better, and that is exactly what Tesla continues to do. This truck is no exception. With that, I really appreciate you joining us for this overview of the Cybertruck. Catch you next time.